Kills, innit, eh? Kills. Anti-aging. But Tom, you're 25 and you look 42. Well, maybe I'd look 50 or 60. Full day of eating today on a bulk. Following macros are 725 grams of carbs, 240 grams of protein, and 60, yes 60 grams of fat. Meal number 1, pre-workout meal. This is being consumed about 2 hours before training because then it allows me to have my pre-workout. I really dislike having food mixed up with pre-workout because I don't feel it gets the full effects of it. So we are training with a client, Rob, just because he's not feeling certain areas when he's training. So I'm going to go through his movement patterns and see how he's executing the movements. So first meal, we are having 75 grams of Ready Brek with some frozen berries, strawberries and blueberries. A little bit of sugar in there as well. We are having half a bagel with 20 grams of peanut butter. The Whole Earth I prefer the Whole Earth. Generally, if Sainsbury's isn't having it on offer, then Tesco's will, and vice versa. And some more quicker acting carbs. We're having 50 grams of Frosties and 300 ml of orange juice with the juicy bits in. I'm not taking my GDA this morning. I've been fasting and my blood glucose was 3.8. Again, very, very low. I really do recommend glucose disposal agents. I think it's had a very good positive effect on my blood glucose dropping down in an off season where stereotypically blood glucose is quite elevated due to the continual consumption of food. I'm taking 5 pre-workout and not having any post-workout. I'm just letting the body naturally partition those carbs, which it will do after a very intense bout of training. Coming to the end of the 4th week of Trinidad, so I'm going to up it on Monday for the last 2 weeks to about 40 meg per day. At the moment I'm doing 20 milligrams pre, about 2.5-3 hours pre-workout just to try and peak just in time for training. So I'll up that dosage, more than likely 20 meg pre and then 20 meg either post or a few hours after training. How much are they?
£104.50 each.
It might be worth doing it because you will be able to sell these Spice Girls tickets for $1. I don't mind, I'll go and pay for them again.
Really?
I've got 2 Spice Girls tickets. Spice your fucking life up. We've got an upper session now. Intra workout is the same from last vlog. I think it was 75 grams of cyclic dextrin intra with 20 grams of EAAs. The Axon Sledge EAAs, the grind, have a slightly better EAA panel breakdown than the EAA Max by Primeval Labs. Slightly higher essential amino acid content, which is good. So this pre-workout is deadly apparently, it's lethal. One hell of a ingredient panel breakdown. In 2 scoops there's 678 milligrams of stimulants. So I'm gonna have 1 scoop, which is still gonna blow my head off. Apparently this gives you pilly willy. As in, can't. And people have said, honestly Tom, I'm not joking, had a scoop and I couldn't do anything in the evening. Which I don't really want, but I like the feeling of being on something, so let's go for it. I honestly feel like I'm taking my first... That smells like off Argos catalogues. Like, taste is disgusting. I suppose it's the effect that you're after. That is not pleasant at all. Update on the rain pre-workout. It's a nauseous come up. It's not very pleasant, but the nauseousness has subsided. The tunnel-like vision focus is quite sharp, but I'm very jittery. I feel like I'm back when I was on contest prep taking Yohimban and Helios and Clen, and it's that sort of vibe. One more after this, one more. Big drive, big fucking drive. Up. two more now. One more after this. Big fucking drive. In. There we go. Okay, post-workout meal. This is a time where you really need to focus on, this is all from Callum, my coach, by the way. This is implementing this. The improvements in digestion have been massive. So normally what a lot of individuals would do is go and train. I've said this before as well, but for any new listeners and watchers, coming straight from the gym when heart rate is still elevated and you're still very much in a stress state is possibly the worst time to eat. Because what you'll notice is when you try and consume large amounts of food in that post-workout window, having had the stresses from training, you'll get quite bloated and digestion problems will occur. So what I do now is I'll go and have a shower. I'll also take my heart rate again using the Polar HR, and I try and get that back down. My usual resting heart rate is about 58. But after training about like sort of half an hour to an hour, I try and get into the mid 60s, and that is a time for me when I can go, right, perfect, I can eat now. Pretty much the staple for post-workout at the moment is 4 Rice Krispie squares with 2 pita. Inside the pitas, 150 grams of chicken, breast for mini fillets, and then I'll have 50 grams of my cereal. So whether that's Frosties or Cocoa Pops or Rice Krispies. Switched it up a bit, I've gone back to Frosties because Frosties are nice. But that total intake for my post-workout meal will be about 215 grams of carbs, 22 grams of fat and 55 grams of protein. Yo!
Let's look at myself really quick.
We're going to measure up in the new flat quickly because I'm going to IKEA and we don't want to do what we did last time, was buy things that were way too big for the bedroom. And where are you going?
God, you scared me.
Whoa.
Or
So yeah,
do
we're just going to go, what?
Do what you did and measure wrong.
I measured wrong. Always remember the skirting.
You've got a letter.
Yes, the new gaff. Finally. About time we left the bloody little shed that we were in. And the bedroom is big enough to get a bed in and then put a Mac, because I'm sick and tired. I'm sure many other editors are sick and tired of it, using the new MacBook Pro laptop. Because you have to have, you can't just beat just walking in and SD card in the back. So what I do now, is I recheck my blood glucose levels after my post-workout meal, which would have been now about, I'd say 2 hours, I think, just to see what state we're in terms of blood glucose. We don't want it too elevated. Going into 4.4, that's quite good after consuming about 220 grams of carbs. 4.4 an hour and a half after. We don't want to be in a state in where that blood glucose is still raised when putting more food into the system. I'm not really into the jackets this off season, I must admit.
Weird.
I used to be on the McCain train. Remember the McCain train? So post-workout meal, which essentially is meal number 3, I'm going to have 150 grams of pasta with 5 heck chicken sausages, which will give me a total of 469 carbs, 180 protein and 49 fat. So the remaining calories, macros, will be distributed over 2 meals, more than likely a relatively lean protein source like chicken, again with some high carbs, and that should really take me over. I can't eat in off season, it's too hard. Just be smart with your food and it might not be too hard. Sorry, I didn't mean that in a condescending way. I'm going to try and be less condescending.
Those Rice Krispie cakes for me all year. Me and you.
Tomorrow, post-workout, you can't touch them.
Can I have one?
Nope.
Right, that's really selfish.
Successful shopping trip in IKEA. Always a pain in the arse, the transitional period between old flat to new. Because it's quite late, I haven't split up the remaining calories into 2 meals that I'd usually do, so I'm just clumping them together. I'm going to have a big chicken fajita rice meal, so 2 packs of jasmine rice. I just find this digests a hell of a lot easier than any other rice, which is nice, and I can eat quite a large quantity of it and it sits fine with me. I'm going to have 150 grams of chicken, some peppers and some fajita powder, and then I'll probably finish with a bagel, just a plain bagel. I don't think I've got enough fats to put any peanut butter in it. So that will take me to a grand total of 246 grams of protein, 716 grams of carbs and 61 grams of fat for the training day. So that concludes the full day of eating. Being a generic YouTuber, innit? Hope you enjoyed the video. Any questions about it? Comment below. Have a fantastic evening. Thank you, good night. Much love.